Welcome to Arkansas Wildlife. Many Arkansans are familiar with the Game and Fish Commission's popular Arkansas Youth Shooting Sports program. Each year, Game and Fish introduces thousands of Arkansas young people to the shooting sports through this popular school-based trap shooting program. The ultimate goal is to get more Arkansas young people outside and hunting. We're going to take it a step further this week and head over to the Potlatch Conservation Education Center at Cooks Lake and hit the woods with some first-time hunters from the popular youth shooting sports program. With deer season just around the corner, this week we'll also check in with Corey Gray, the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission's Deer Program Coordinator, and tell you the important things you need to know about Arkansas's first deer season since the detection of chronic wasting disease. You can also find out more about CWD in the Arkansas Hunting Guidebook, and on page 8 you'll find a complete list of testing sites where Game and Fish staff will be collecting CWD samples from hunter-harvested deer during the opening weekend of modern gun deer season. All that and this week's winner of a free hunting and fishing license right after this break. Arkansas Wildlife is brought to you in part by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price, every day. Academy. The Arkansas Game and Fish Commission's Youth Shooting Sports program celebrated its 10th anniversary in 2016. Thousands of Arkansas students have competed in trap shooting tournaments during that span, taking home some impressive hardware as well as college scholarship money. But a select group of competitors earn a different kind of reward.
We select out of those 6th through 12th grade student athletes, we select a group of individuals that's never been hunting before. We send out letters to all the coaches asking them to poll their team, see who has never been hunting before. They write an essay to try to qualify, and the team of us select those kids those student athletes that's never hunted before. We bring them down to Cooks Lake. We teach them the biology and introduce them to small game hunting. It's a blast.
This is our second annual youth squirrel and raccoon hunt. You know, a lot of these kids may have been deer hunting, large game hunting, but we're finding out a lot of times our young folks don't start out perhaps like we did years ago, small game hunting with squirrel or rabbit. So they're going to get an opportunity to engage in those activities and have a lot of fun.
Well, nowadays we've got a huge segment of our population that just does not get the opportunity to go out with mom, dad, grandparents, and whatnot, and to kind of learn hunting and fishing and those types of outdoor related activities from those individuals. So that's where we step in. You know, Arkansas Game and Fish, White River National Wildlife Refuge, and this wonderful facility that we have at Cooks Lake, you know, to be able to offer these hunts to these young people that would not otherwise get the opportunity.
We'll have an orientation program about squirrel hunting, squirrel biology, and orientate them to the things that they can expect from us and what we expect from them.
We go over firearm safety, introduction to biology. We show them animal tracks, those kind of things. And then we carry them out right at dark. We carry them out and they shoot targets that's already been placed up in the trees so they can get used to raccoon hunting at night and or squirrel hunting the next day.
We'll first take them out here next to the Education Center with a mock-up in the trees so they get an idea of what it is that they're going to be hunting for. The whole thing behind that skill set, that activity, is just to get them used to shooting at the animal that's, you know, going to be treed.
I want you to aim at that red balloon right there. It's a coon. You got it? There you go. That's it.
kick things off with the raccoon hunt.
We'll take the athletes out on their very first coon hunt with dogs. We bust them up into 2 different groups, and these 8 individuals are just having the time of their life along with their parent or their guardian. We chase the raccoons around. They get to shoot 1 or 2 of those out of the tree.
There you go, you got him on that one.
We come back, have a great fireplace around the fire, talk about the hunt, get up the next morning. We do the same thing, only just go squirrel hunt.
Then we'll come in from the coon hunt, and Saturday morning we'll get up and break up into 2 different groups with professional dog handlers, and we'll start the squirrel hunt.
Stay tuned after the break for day 2 of the Game and Fish Commission's Cooks Lake Youth Hunt. It was a wet start to the second day of the Cooks Lake Youth Hunt, but this group of first-time hunters didn't seem to mind.
We bust them up in groups of 2, and they get to kill their very first squirrel. Mainly it's out in front of the dogs. They get to listen to the dogs run. The dog handlers always teach them how to work the GPS and how the dogs work.
He says, I smell a squirrel right here. Now he'll ooh and watch him. He'll go out and he'll make a circle around that tree to make sure he's on the right tree. And he should come back tree on.
We teach them wildlife and biology as we go across through the land.
You haven't seen these oyster mushrooms? These are good to eat.
To get to see these kids interact with staff, interact with other youth that maybe they will build lifelong friendships with is very special, and they get to learn a new skill set that perhaps they didn't have before.
See that piece of stick sticking up in that hole? Shoot that stick out of that hole. You hit it.
As a wildlife agency, we love the introduction to new hunters. This is going to be bringing up a whole new bunch of hunters. Some of their dads have never hunted before, and so they're learning as father and son, or mom and daughter, or father and daughter together. It's just a great thing to see from our agency standpoint.
Well, nowadays we've got a huge segment of our population that just does not get the opportunity to go out with mom, dad, grandparents, and whatnot, and to kind of learn hunting and fishing and those types of outdoor related activities from those individuals. So that's where we step in. You know, Arkansas Game and Fish, White River National Wildlife Refuge, and this wonderful facility that we have at Cooks Lake, you know, to be able to offer these hunts to these young people that would not otherwise get the opportunity.
The commission really wanted to get youth back outside doing things, and to get them off the iPhones and the iPads and the electronics out into the field. And to put a firearm in a 6th through 12th grader's hand for the very first time, teach them the proper way of gun safety is huge for our agency.
We offer already here on this place a youth deer hunt, and we were brainstorming to try and see what else can we do, you know, and I've got some friends from actually these guys from Mississippi that they work with the Fish and Wildlife Service that have squirrel dogs. and we thought, man, what a great activity to get young people outdoors, treeing squirrels with dogs and treeing coons with dogs, and it's just something that people nowadays don't get the opportunity to do very often.
They contacted Rick and wanted to know if we would come do a youth hunt, and that's what it's all about. It's about getting the youth involved in the hunting. And you know, we come over last year and did the first annual youth hunt, and had a good day, and kids had fun. I think they walked away with a good experience.
Good job, man.
It's just a special experience with the camaraderie, the fellowship, and being involved in something that's most likely going to be a one-time experience for them.
Who does not enjoy watching some young individual that's never hunted before harvest their first animal? It's like sitting in the duck blind and all of a sudden that mallard back wings in front of you and they get to shoot in, and that's theirs. We do the same thing here on this raccoon and squirrel hunt. They've never hunted before. And to harvest their first squirrel or to harvest their first raccoon is just second to none.
White-tailed deer are one of the natural state's greatest wildlife success stories. Arkansas's deer harvest has grown from about 200 in 1938 to more than 200,000 in each of the past 4 seasons. And while the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission and its conservation partners did much of the heavy lifting for whitetail restoration, it couldn't have happened without the state's deer hunters. Today, Arkansas's whitetail herd faces another big challenge, and once again, the Game and Fish Commission is calling on hunters to help.
You just continue to hunt, continue to do your food plots and pay your leases and do all the deer camp things that you normally would. But just be aware that if you do come across a sick animal, notify us and let us sample that animal.
Chronic wasting disease, or CWD, is a fatal neurological disease that affects elk, white-tailed deer, and other members of the deer family. The disease was detected earlier this year in an elk taken by a hunter near the Buffalo National River last October. Shortly after the positive elk sample was confirmed, a sample taken from a white-tailed deer near Ponca also revealed the disease. The Game and Fish Commission initiated its CWD response plan, creating a focal area in Newton County and randomly sampling whitetails to determine the extent of the disease.
And we needed around 300 samples inside that focal area for statistical confidence. We were able to collect those samples in 10 days and the results came back with a 23% prevalence. Very high, a lot more than we expected.
Over the next several months, Game and Fish collected roadkill deer in every Arkansas county to determine the geographical reach of CWD.
Our staff have been collecting those all throughout the spring and the summer months, over 1,200 deer statewide, and we found the disease in 5 counties.
I'm really impressed with the way Arkansas has been responding to chronic wasting disease. It's a measured response. It's recognizing that this is a marathon disease. It's a very thoughtful and well-informed response that Arkansas is using to addressing chronic wasting disease.
So this next phase that'll come up for this upcoming deer season is going to continue to monitor the prevalence in our focal areas, but we're also going to try to fine-tune the spatial distribution. Can we shrink that up as much as we can and draw a definite hard line around where this disease is at in our state?
Hunters can assist in the effort by voluntarily taking their deer to one of the more than 24 check stations that Game and Fish will set up during the opening weekend of modern gun deer season in the 10-county CWD management zone.
Our goal is to collect 300 samples per each county in the CWD management zone. The second is inside the focal areas, the Newton County focal area and then the Pope County focal area. We want to collect 300 samples inside each one of those to monitor prevalence.
With the onset of increased deer activity and seasonal movement in the coming weeks and months, Game and Fish will conduct additional CWD surveillance to try to detect any potential movement of the disease outside of the CWD zone.
And that'll be statewide. That's the scale of that sampling, in that we want to see if that disease can be found anywhere else. And the best strategy for disease detection is through roadkill animals and through target animals. And we consider a target animal any sick or unusual whitetail that's showing clinical symptoms of being ill.
In addition to informing wildlife officials about any sick-looking deer, hunters also can help by taking additional precautions after harvesting a deer.
You ought to be more sensitive about how you process your game now. Try to debone as much as you can. Be sensitive about where you move the carcass around to. We did not regulate carcass disposal, but we have best management practices as to what you do with the carcass of the animal you just harvested.
Hunters also can help by becoming familiar with new hunting regulations, including restrictions on baiting and feeding in the CWD management zone and prohibitions on moving harvested deer outside of the zone.
2 goals associated with chronic wasting disease management. And one of them is to minimize the spread of the disease. We want to contain it inside the management area. And then also the second goal is to minimize the amplification of the disease. Is do not amplify it in those already established areas. So when you start talking about either the baiting and feeding or the antler restrictions or whatever the rule is, the carcass movement regulation, each one of those is directly tied back to one of those 2 primary goals.
The popular 3-point rule for bucks also has been removed in deer zones 1 and 2.
When you look at the removal of the 3-point rule, that's been one of the most popular regulations we've ever implemented with deer management. But when we look at our sampling in that management area, 43% of our 2.5 and older bucks were positive with this disease. So if 43% of your male segment has the disease, you do not want to protect those individuals. So that goes back to amplifying the disease. You don't want to amplify it. You want those individuals removed from the population.
Although there's no evidence that CWD can infect humans, the Federal Centers for Disease Control and the Arkansas Department of Health say people shouldn't consume meat from an animal that's CWD positive. Hunters should also avoid harvesting sick-looking animals.
But if that animal is walking around alert, performing normal daily activities of feeding, then harvest that animal, process it, and enjoy it, and continue to deer hunt.
In other states where CWD is present, hunting license sales often have declined in the immediate aftermath of detection, but they typically rebound in short order, as was the case in Colorado after CWD expanded to the state's western slope in the early 2000s.
There was a big buzz about CWD in Colorado. Lots of talk, and I heard that there were reduced license sales. In my business or my peer group, I really never saw anybody that quit hunting. Heard about it. I can't say that it ever affected my business.
I've been hunting in Colorado since 1992. At this stage, it doesn't even enter my mind, to tell you the truth.
Me personally, after going through all the data, all the science, I don't have a problem with killing a deer and eating it.
We may experience that, in that we may have that shrinking back on hunting license sales, especially in those deer zones that are impacted, but we feel like though that hunters will start realizing that this disease is something that we can live with.
CWD experts say the most important message is that management of CWD is a long-term endeavor that calls for a measured response.
I think it's extremely important that we manage chronic wasting disease, but we have to do it with realistic expectations. And the expectation at this point is not eradication. It's limiting the prevalence of the disease and trying to control the spread so it doesn't continue to spread to a larger area.
We need to continue at a slow, steady pace because this disease is not going to be eradicated. It's going to be something that we're going to live with for future years. So I hope hunters understand that, in that it's going to be something that we're going to talk about from now on.
Arkansas Wildlife presents the 2016 Watch and Win giveaway. During each first run episode of Arkansas Wildlife, we'll give away an Arkansas resident hunting and fishing license, a $35.50 value provided by Academy Sports and Outdoors. At the end of the year, we'll award the 2016 Grand Prize, a lifetime hunting and fishing license provided by Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas, along with $1,000 worth of sporting goods gift cards provided by the Arkansas Game and Fish Foundation. Here's how it works. Visit the Game and Fish Commission's website at agfc.com and click on the Arkansas Wildlife icon to enter. This week's winner is Bruce Settlers from Conway. Congratulations, Bruce, and thanks for watching.